I feel like you know this already, but you are someone who arrives into soul's experiences and triggers some kind of rapid, irreversible change or shift, especially when it comes to this. Boom, like interruptions in their worldview, just coming in and expanding the frameworks of how they view reality or their potential in this plane. Once consciousness expands into new dimensions, it can no longer return back to its old form. And there's something around each interaction that you have or intersection where beings come into these world-line collisions with you, where you're at the same time and space, in the same space and time. It comes with this rapid transformation. There's something catalytic about your energy, and you are someone that rarely lands as neutral. And I'm going to tell you something before I even open up with this message. I was really actually looking forward to, bringing this message into the field essentially yesterday when I received it. And then today there was like this heavy energy looming in the air. And I was like, oh, I actually don't want to do this message. And there was an important breakthrough that surfaced and really emerged, which was, oh, that's exactly why you need to do it. And I feel this is partly due to something that you've moved through. I feel like you could be on the other side of it, or you're on the tail end of this. And I'm also seeing something around your understanding what you've moved through now and what it entails moving forward. And even if you don't know the full culmination of that, there's something that's accumulating, and I'm seeing it as wisdom within you or remembrance within you that's unfolding as this path emerges from you. And the path is the story of something that you've moved through contributing towards your own evolution and the part that it plays into a larger story in your life. And so we're going to read on that, but I do want to share with you, first of all, what the download that came through was, the impact that you have on those around you. And also, I feel like you just got a taste of your own essence, if this makes sense. It's like something was, okay, you're going to know this message is for you because something was drastically rearranged in your field. And I'm going to tell you something. So I tried to do this message like a few minutes ago, and I opened up at 13:13 on the clock, which was literally clarity that you're receiving after the storm. And it was seated right behind the 333, which is a potential card. And I saw 333 earlier today. And clarity talks about, as the storm passes, the clarity is felt faster than lightning is seen against the dark sky. The divine is reminding you that clarity is readily available, or you've weathered the storm and now the sky is clearing. And so 13:13 is literally a clarity card that you're receiving around why something had to take place. It was some kind of divine orchestration or divine redirection. And it just felt like so much has shifted abruptly. It definitely could have felt like the carpet was swept from underneath your feet. There was a point of destabilization, but it's also the very reason for the transformation that you feel occurring within you. And I'm seeing it's something being transformed and unfolding through you. That's the energy that's coming through. So we have a lot that's going on. First of all, you're like Moldavite. So I want to open up sharing this. And Moldavite there's something paradoxical about it because it's this terrestrial material that's transformed through contact with something extraterrestrial. Moldavite is essentially, it's a part of the earth that's permanently altered because something from the heavens collided from it. And so you're the celestial being that roams this terrestrial earth, and you impart and share this remembrance, or you reflect that back to others. And a huge part of what you could have moved through, but also that was coming through, was seeing potential within a fractal of awareness that may not be aware of the fact that it's infinite potential, but that doesn't negate the fact of what it has always been, will always be, and is. You could see potential in those around you that may not yet see that within themselves. And again, with the interruption of worldview, I'm going to go ahead and read this energy because this is how you show up abruptly in someone's experience. You rarely land as neutral because there's two kind of main responses that you receive as you embody this knowing and you see potential in someone that may not be truly prepared or ready to observe. And I'm hearing fully embody all that would entail. There is a hidden reward that comes with self-sabotage in the system, and that's that we get the privilege of staying within familiar terrain, or the realms of our comfort zone, or the paths that are well manicured and traveled. And there is a lot that goes on. There's different responses. You inspire some, and for others, you are a trigger. And that trigger is just revealing a place within them that's not yet free. And that's one of your biggest gifts. So it's giving you sign up for this role to kind of be a walking trigger, especially when someone's going through an identity shift and they're finding their way home, because the message I channeled was time collapses in your presence because you assist souls reconcile with the truth that they always knew. And this is how you were coming across, right? This is how you were coming across. I said meeting you is like Moldavite because the vision I got was, sorry, there's a lot. Meeting you is like meeting someone from the future. Imagine someone from the future coming to you and saying, oh, I actually remembered you winning the lottery, or, I actually remembered you being on that TED talk, or I remembered you having this podcast, or I remembered you achieving this and this and this. Like, it's already happened. There's not a sense of belief, there's a sense of knowing. And it's because you're tuning into the Akashic field, which is the realm of where everything exists. Okay, it's the interconnected database that stores a living memory of every organism from the past, present, and future, all possible timelines and expressions of yourself and experiences that are readily available on Earth for you to experience. And so you can see where not only is a human blocking themselves off from vast portions of their potential, but you've also had to make some irreversible decisions, I'm hearing as of late, that have led to you confronting where you possibly were blocking yourself off from vast portions of your potential. And I'm hearing that could have been an internal tower moment that was a point of destabilization for you. But that chaos also was very cosmic in nature, and there was a secret reordering that just occurred in your life. And that's what I mean by you receiving a taste of your own medicine, like abrupt and swift changes. And so there was a message of, someone imparting celestial knowledge as they transverse this terrestrial plane. And it leaves you curious. It's like, wait, how? And it's strange because it lands with that person. It's like they remember something that you're telling them. There's a desire around what it is that you're mirroring or reflecting to them, because it's also a memory from their future self. So it's like a glitch. You are a glitch in the system. That was a message that was coming through. And so there was an essence of being careful what you wish for, because you then reach a place of no return where you're just not the same after coming into alignment with some type of, let's say, future memory. That's what it feels like. And that's how you leave people. So that was one of the first messages. And I saw it as like an expansion portal where I said you were streamlining your soul's essence into this physical plane. And I got 1111 earlier today when I've been sitting with this energy for hours. And that was the be careful what you wish for, because you may just expand way beyond your comfort zone. So that's the energy that's coming through. Now, I want to read to you the Tower card, because again, this is how you come across, right? This is how meeting you from an outside perspective is. So I want to talk about this as within, so without. The Tower as a person is something that's unfamiliar, yet there's a sense of homecoming. Okay, I'm seeing there's a sense of familiarity that's also felt in your field. Where when someone's moving through an identity crisis or times of the unknown, that's often when you'll show up. I'm hearing on their doorstep. That's what it can feel like. And so, yeah, that's what Moldavite is, right? It's like, it's a part of the earth, which is us being an extension or an expression of the earth. And every human, like our carbon-based life forms, are an expression of the earth that becomes permanently altered because something from the heavens, right, or the celestial origin point that we all emerge from, begins to collide with it. And so it reminds me of some type of collision that leaves you forever altered. You go through some type of, again, it's like some kind of transformation through contact that occurs. So the shore is turbulence, and it also is an unfamiliar place. When the darkness subsides, this being finds himself at a foggy beach. They're confused and they look around and they see nothing familiar. Did they make the wrong choice, they wonder. The shore seems of another world. Fire rains from the sky and the air smells of soot. In the distance, you see the graveyard of broken ships. They travel towards the ships, unsure of what they're looking for or who they even are. As waves pummel on the cosmic floor, the heaviness that hangs in the air creeps into their mind, and they wonder, why are they here? This is where you could have found yourself as of late, okay? I also see this as like, again, an energy that you also move through. And so the energy with this is the shore is rock bottom. You could have just hit rock bottom, and I'm seeing found a basement. Maybe you didn't know that you could even go that low, right? Rock bottom had a basement. That's what felt so heavy, because as soon as I was tuning into the energy in the field today, I was like, it doesn't feel as like light or airy as it once was. And that's the very real reality of the situation, and the very real reality of experiencing the effect or aftermath of you. There's something like that that's come through the field. So, and I'm hearing this was also important for you to understand. Anyway, so while the current territory could feel unfamiliar, underneath the crashing waves of the shore sleeps the world that you know well. Change is a part of breaking new ground, and some transitions can be easier than others. Take the time that you need to adjust to your new reality and find daily comforts and embrace what you can of the familiar. It will make the unfamiliar feel more like home. And so this is also somewhere that you've landed with the tower. Now, I'm going to share with you the geology and the geological history of Moldavite. This is going to help you understand not just something that you've moved through, but also the impact and effect that you have on those around you. And it just feels like an energy of the soul before incarnating was like, okay, I want my avatar to have this kind of essence and this, and I want this kind of impact, just sign me up for it. And they're like, are you sure? Like, this is one of the, it's one of those energies that reminds me almost of Chiron or Lilith, or there's an energy that is very, just bittersweet about it. And yet there is I'm hearing hidden reward in between the experience. And you're finally beginning to see with the storm energy, the silver lining of it. So let me share with you Moldavite, right? Moldavite isn't a conventional crystal. It is a rare green tektite. It's a natural impact glass. Now, if you know anything about Moldavite, I'm gonna share with you a personal story about Moldavite. Is something that will literally pick you up out of an old paradigm. And it feels like that. And it feels like you're going to get flung off into a completely new dimensional field of reality. It's like an ace. If you know the aces, it's like there's a clean slate. Anything that's not supposed to be aligned on your path, that's it. It just dissolves. It dissolves an old paradigm in order for you to ascend into a higher order. And you're almost getting dropped off. You know what Moldavite feels like? You know when a kid's been so used to just being at home with parents, and then it goes to nursery for the first time, or it goes to school, like its first day at school? That's what Moldavite feels like. And it reminds me of a beautiful soul that was talking to you behind the scenes, and you know who you are. He said something around, it feels like you're arriving at places like way ahead of its time. Like you're arriving at places a week before the event occurs, a couple days or a couple hours, or there's something that you're very early to the party in regards to. This is the type of energy that's coming through. It's almost like you arrive at a ghost town, but it's before the new neighborhood moves in. There's an energy like that around Moldavite. Like you're getting acquainted with the land itself, or some kind of new terrain or essence itself, and then it appears in the physical. That's the type of energy that's coming through. And so in that in-between period, which I feel like you're moving through now, is this liminal space where everything is still collapsing and grounding into reality. That's like a side message. And I remember Moldavite, the first time that I ever worked with it, and this is the only time that I worked with it, was an incense that was given to me by somebody. And I dreamt that I lit the incense, and I was basically moving it around my bedroom, and I was clearing myself with this incense. When I tell you, 3 things happened. I changed my careers. That friend that I had, wiped. The location that I had, wiped. It's like there was a reboot or some type of reset that happened where you literally wake up and you know when things happen in threes, it's kind of like the law of three or some kind of synchronicity where it's, oh no, things just got turned inside out. There's something bigger in store where, you know, where spirit comes in, the oversoul comes in and it shakes up your life like a snow globe. And then you're just watching the intricacies and complexities of your life being rearranged before your eyes. And you have no other option but to just sit back and surrender that, you know, surrender to the, let's just say like the aftermath of some kind of abrupt shakeup and kind of get acquainted with how everything settles into this new terrain. And more importantly, it feels like the terrain has already been designed for you. It's about how you're settling in to this dimensional layer of reality. That's what this feels like. And I feel like this is something that you've also moved through, which is why I was being called to share that. So the backstory of Moldavite is around just under 15 million years ago, a huge extraterrestrial object struck what is now the Rise region of Germany. The impact subjected Earth's surface material to extraordinary heat and pressure, ejecting molten material at enormous speeds. That material cooled and solidified into glass. The energy of meeting you, being like Moldavite, is that you don't necessarily come into someone's life to be a part of the world that they already knew. Instead, you collide with it. And that collision creates something that couldn't have existed without that encounter. That's what this is. It feels like you originate from, you know what it is? It feels like meeting you is meeting someone that knows a parallel version of you and also originates from that parallel timeline and is like, these are all the things that I've seen you do. Like, these are all the things that I've seen you achieve. These are all the things, like all the things, right? And someone's like, what? Like, I did that? Or you see me doing that? There's something like this where communicating with you is, you know what it is? It's, you are like meeting a, what's it called? A 𝓘𝓷𝓽. A 𝓘𝓷𝓽 is a message that's delivered innocently by the oracle. So sometimes you don't even understand how deeply of a messenger you are, and it's because it's not something around like I am the message. It's like, this is the message that flows through me and here you go, receive it. But you're not attaching to what that human being chooses to do or doesn't do with that information. There's just an energy of something streamlining through you. That's what it is. It's like when someone's downloading the stream, and from source there was an energy around, you know, source is plasma, and you're also a bioplasma being, and plasma emits photons, and so you emit information, right? This light that you impart that absorbs, that this carbon-based life form absorbs, and it becomes a form of energy. It becomes a form of catalyst. I'm seeing almost you as an 8 of Wands awakener, where it gives this being like a burst of energy and vitality that propels them forward towards their dreams, ambitions, and goals. But if they don't find an external channel for that, it's almost like the energy implodes on itself, or there's a level of frustration around how to execute this. It's when someone tells you, you know, that you did this, and you leave them with more questions, then they have answers. And so they try to turn externally for the answers, but they can only be found within. And so there's something around having to look within. It's like you turn someone inside out. Like, that's the energy that's coming through. So Moldavite, if we talk about the reputation that Moldavite has, and I was getting an energy around like lore, like the lore of it, Moldavite has a developed reputation of being a stone that brings about accelerated, rapid transformations in someone's life. And so it's associated with like rapid change, also abrupt endings that happen that lead to divine redirections and circumstances suddenly falling away. That is something, you know what, let me know in the comment section down below, what's your experience with Moldavite? Please do share. But any kind of suppressed material when it comes to where we've been sleeping on our own potential also surfaces very, very quickly, and we break attachments to old versions of ourselves or old identities, old dynamics. There's sudden timeline shifts. This is where we experience major quantum leaps and encounters that end up acting as catalysts rather than comfort blankets. That's what it is. You're a catalyst and you weren't designed to be a comfort blanket. And that's one of your biggest gifts. So it definitely reminds you of Pluterian energy. And it's so funny because I think it was at the base here. I think I shuffled this card, but Pluto was sitting here at the top for quite a while. So there's something around that, like you get deployed into someone's experience when they're going through that unavoidable transformation, or you initiate that in many ways, right? So Moldavite in general, it doesn't have a reputation, and this is what I mean. I feel like you don't have a reputation of landing neutral into someone's experience. It's like, you know, Tower moment is literally someone that you don't see coming or something that you don't see coming. So it feels like the world didn't see you coming. And you know, they don't gently help you change. They have a reputation of kind of accelerating what was already ready to change, and then having a way of having that unravel within you. You know, it's that type of energy. Have you ever had like a ball of yarn and then you drop it and you're like, whoops? There's something like that, maybe with like truth bombs or something. But I'm just seeing something unravel all at once. Awakening is that Uranus Mars energy. Uranus and Mars is the tower. So Mars, wherever Mars is, it basically accelerates things, and it can happen through a little bit of friction. And Uranus leads to rapid accelerations and very unexpected. You know, it brings that out of the blue type of energy that we feel. And I feel this is very strongly linked to the impact born through you. That's what this is. And it's because you were born through impact. You, again, are this celestial being that collides with the earth so violently to the point where terrestrial matter was thrown from where it belonged, and it was subjected to extraordinary heat, extraordinary pressure that transformed it into something entirely new. And this is an essence within you that you've experienced again and again, like a rapid transformation. Again, it's giving me pressure over time that leads to the transformation of coal into a diamond. And you've always had that impenetrable essence about you, where I'm seeing it's like a force to be reckoned with long before you were discovered. That's what this is. I'm hearing be careful what you wish for. Someone hoping to find a diamond one day, digging, and then finding the diamond. But there's an essence of you know, when there's an antique and it's almost belonged to previous owners. You know what it is? Crystals hold memory. There's that type of energy. And this Moldavite also holds some type of memory. Within you is the DNA, and DNA stores the potential of everything that you've been and the potential of everything that you could become. And I'm seeing that rapidly unfold, where you mirror the potential of everything the human could become when it comes to their full potential, their full, I'm hearing divinity expressed in the physical dimension. And that also comes with a level of the human condition lifting in a very rapid and abrupt way, where it's like, this is everything that your life on earth could be. And so you create that safe passage and beckon the human to come and learn more about what it is. That's what it is. That's the essence that's coming through. And that's the effect that you have. And it's not because you function as chaos, but you function as a catalyst. And you are an event that creates impact. And I don't know if you understand how much of that impact occurs within an internal way. Like someone's emotional landscape begins to collapse. I'm seeing even their mental architecture begins to collapse in on itself. Everything that they thought their world to be becomes changed or transformed. That's this energy. So Moldavite comes from the earth, but it's an element that requires this terrestrial contact from the cosmos to become what was always encoded within it to become. It required some type of, I'm seeing it as like a final synthesis chamber where the conditions are all correct. It's not that you put something into someone, it's that you activate potential that was already there. That's what this is. So I'm seeing it as the position of the artist is the humble one, because it's the wind of spirit that moves through them. That's what this is. And there's something that moves through you, and you've learned to surrender to that. And there's something around surrendering to the force that you also are. And that could be surrendering to the higher intelligence that also moves through you and having this trustful at this time of your life. But it feels like you've met your own essence. Now, I don't know if that's in an experience. It could be in some kind of upheaval. It could be something that's been uprooted. So it's even less about, you know, the impact that you have on people. It's more about what it is that you've moved through. Like, that's what this message became, like, that's what became very evident about this message today opening up. Now, I was also receiving this other download that I want to share with you last night when I was in between realms. And so I woke up to write this one down. And I said, I'm going to just read to you because I said this into my notes. I said, you're like roots of a tree. And I want to use this as a keyword before I read your energy. It's like roots of a tree, but then the tree is like uprooted and it's relocated, but the tree is able to connect with an underground network wherever it goes. So you hold this level of fluidity where you can anchor into whatever shifts have happened in your external reality and then recalibrate your inner world to be like, oh yeah, well that just happened and that just happened. So there's an uncanny ability I'm hearing that you have to adapt to changing circumstances. And that is an energy of the forest spirits in the Shaman's Dream Oracle message. So there's something around remaining open to change right now. And it's something that you've had to surrender to. And I said that you can also remain grounded amongst change, but there's also a paradox, because I said wherever you've been, the grass appeared to be greenest. And when you leave behind a place and you're uprooted and kind of taken into another environment, there's an essence of phantom roots. And I've been talking about like phantom limbs and phantom this like quite a while ago, where it's like the lingering essence of you. Bioelectrically, even if, for example, we lose like a limb, our energetically, we still have this bioelectrical cord where in energetic realms, essentially, our body is still feeling this essence. Like I'll try and explain it after, but it's like the essence of it is still there. And I was seeing that around everywhere that you've walked or anywhere that you've been, anything that you've been rooted in and then have been uprooted in. And how you're going to know this message is for you, by the way, and I should have probably said this opening up, is it may feel like people don't really stick in your life for long. Okay, maybe there's some, but there's an essence of you're in and out, like a revolving doors energy, or you're in or you're out. It's Uranus energy. So it's very quick and sometimes catalytic, explosive dynamics that are designed to break, both beings open. The lessons can vary, and then it's like switch, quick shifts. And so it could have felt like things don't really stick in the field for long. Anyway, I also said the grass is greenest when we're living from moment to moment in the present. And so there's something that you've learned around these quick shifts around, okay, not becoming possessed by a moment and not attempting to possess a moment, but just seeing it as the eternal being, experiencing these temporal moments through time. And there's something around you being able to study time itself. You've been able to study moments in time as it's playing out in real time. And there's almost an essence of whatever comes into your field now, there could be this subconscious layer of yourself around what is this designed to teach me, amplify, or awaken within me, that type of energy. There's almost an essence of trying to decode it on a soul level. It's the human condition lifting and seeing life on earth through the lens of the soul, seeing it through energetic exchange. There is a more hidden architecture or layer where you've gotten really good at reading between the lines. And it could be a level of like pattern recognition. That's the energy. But the keyword that I wanted to look up, and I was being guided to wait until we were here together to do so, was the phantom roots. So we're going to use that as a keyword. Can you define what it means when a human has been linked to a tree and the tree has been rooted wherever it's been, but then those roots are uprooted and the tree is relocated to another environment, but then where it was previously, there are phantom roots that beings in that environment return to, and they feel the essence of those phantom roots, even though the physical tree has already relocated and rerouted elsewhere. That's what this is. Hopefully that makes sense. I know this is kind of abrupt, but it's just one of those environments. What the heck is that blue? Even the colors just change. I feel like I'm in an alternate reality. So as a metaphor, it's relocation without total energetic erasure. The distinction between where something is currently rooted and where its presence has left an imprint. This is what I mean. Like, you leave some kind of mark in the historical timeline that ends up becoming a point of reference. When the tree represents a person, that's your embodied presence, identity, life force, and the place from which you drew nourishment. Its roots represent attachment, belonging, relationships, routines, memories, and an invisible network the person formed with an environment. When the tree's uprooted and relocated, and I'm seeing this as timelines, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean the tree has died or lost its capacity to belong. Quite the opposite. It can reroot somewhere new. So this is you. I'm hearing again your uncanny ability to adapt to changing circumstances, but its living roots are now extending into different soil. You're establishing new relationships and drawing nourishment from a new ecosystem. So ecosystems are filled with experiences, right? Resonant people that we come into alignment with, soul lessons, opportunities within those timelines. So it's a new domain of reality that you've now shifted to, and you've gotten really, really good at this ability to adapt to different domains. So the phantom roots, which is the essence of you that I was seeing last night in Between Realms, would represent residual architecture of its former presence. The physical roots may be gone, so you may not be physically connected with certain beings or timelines anymore, but the pathways that you created remain. This could be impressions, it could be memories, emotional associations, it could be relational patterns, or other ways people learn to orientate themselves around you. It could be similar to a phantom limb, but applied to a relationship or place. Something no longer physically occupies that space, yet the system that once interacted with it can still perceive its shape. And so this could also be phantom roots that you sense in terms of whatever you've also moved through. It's also that beings aren't necessarily connecting with the tree as it exists now. So this is you as you exist now. They're actually returning to an imprint or an old version of you that they once knew. So they could go back to where your shade used to fall. They could remember where your branches used to extend, or instinctively reach towards roots that once provided that sense of like familiarity or connection, or provided the shelter or nourishment or orientation. And in doing so, they experience something real, but it's the echo of you without actually being in your presence, essentially. So the rooted tree is the person that you're becoming now. The remembered tree is the one that others believed or remembered you to be. I'm hearing also the version that they've known you as in their head. And this reminds me of the energy of you're always going to be like a villain in someone's story, or you're always going to be a perpetrator in someone's story. And I'm seeing that kind of arc. So don't allow the picture that others paint in their head of you to be how you define yourself, because there's something so interchangeable where you're not ever just one thing. Again, you're multidimensional. So there's that type of essence where something can be super bitter, but it can also be sweet simultaneously. And so the phantom root system is the invisible relational structure that continues existing in an environment after your departure. So your absence still has a presence. So there's evidence of your presence that ripples through the lives of those that you touched, even if you're physically no longer there. That's what this is. Okay. Now, I want to take a look at you specifically. All right, I want to take a look at you, and let's open up with a Cosmos Oracle message. It's just going to be a shorter message. I just wanted to get this out into the field. All right, what's the theme for this being? What's the theme for this being right now in their life? Time and synchronous rotation. Okay, time is the linear unfoldment of something, right? There's universal time, and then there's also the human perspective of time. You know how I was talking about synchronous rotation, like those you don't want to see, and also those who don't want to be shown or are not ready to be shown. So time talks about non-linear stages. This is how you unfold. Again, time stops in your presence. The unfoldment of two times that act as once. You cannot ask water to turn into ice without first cooling it sufficiently or evaporating it without boiling it. They are the stages that the half circle must go through before becoming a full circle. Trusting the process involves understanding cosmic time and detaching from your anxiety. Know how to wait, understand, let go, and trust the stages of the process. The mantra is, I believe in the synchronicity of life. And so there is an energy of you acting non-linear, where again, you come in as seeing like a quantum memory, something that someone is able to remember through that collision. It's like moments of deja vu, it's a fourth dimensional experience, because essentially we're colliding our awareness, or it's where our awareness collides with alternate parallel expressions of ourselves. And so we're remembering things not from this timeline, inside of our current coordinates within space-time. And then synchronous rotation is, oh, this is something that someone didn't want to see or they didn't want to hear. It feels like medicine to the soul, but poison to the ego. And this is what I mean by it rarely land neutral. So this is something that you could have moved through for sure. The two faces of the moon. Do you know where the expression, the two faces of the moon, comes from? Not a single day has passed, nor will it ever pass, where the moon shows its other face. The gravity of one body slows the orbit of another, so that it always has the same face. The far side of the moon is the one we never see from Earth. We always see the same side as the moon rotates at the same speed as its orbit around the Earth. This card warns us about the hidden, what we do not see. The interesting thing here is not about lack of vision, but about what does not wish to be seen, or who does not wish to be shown. What you've just moved through when it comes to the theme is accepting that not everyone wants to see into the quantum. Not everyone is ready to see their full potential. You know what this is? We do not fear that we are inadequate. We fear that we are powerful beyond measure. And there's something that we recognize is immeasurable, that the linear mind cannot really measure. And so because the linear mind can't measure it as far as how it will happen or when it will happen, we'd rather not look at it. Otherwise, it would require for us to surrender. It would require for us to make friends with the unknown, to trust the unknown. And so self-sabotage becomes something that we claim this hidden reward around, because we can stay within the realms of our own comfort zone. And yet, with the phantom roots, after you see the other side of the moon, or you gain a glimpse into it, your consciousness can't return back to its old form. Once consciousness becomes aware of itself or its potential, it begins to behave very, very differently. And so it's like Neo taking the red pill inside of the Matrix. And what happens is that there's a discomfort that we now feel in our comfort zone, because we just got a taste into the, oh, you know, I remembered you doing A, B, and C, and now we have more questions and answers. And we look around to have those questions answered. And a great teacher always sends us back to ourselves. And so there's something around self-study and understanding the conditions that we create on our own inner world, the limitations we put on our own soul's expression. And again, you bridge that gap to help the soul reunify with the truth of what the totality of this experience has in store for us. And it's whether we decide to honor and support the collapse of that path, the collapse of that timeline. But we must first make a choice. We must first decide and know, not just believe, but know and remember that we are capable of so much more. And I'm hearing that truth can be unnerving. What does unnerving mean? Let me go ahead and use that as a keyword. What does it mean when someone discovers a truth that's unnerving? What does that mean? And then ultraviolet light is, what we don't see. Something that we don't see, and it secretly affects us. So again, you're like this energy that comes in and it breaks something open because you see it from the perspective of the soul. When someone discovers a truth that's unnerving, it means realization that disturbs their sense of stability, certainty, or safety. Unnerving literally carries a sense of something making you lose your nerve, something that unsettles you internally, challenges what you previously believed, reveals something you weren't emotionally prepared to know, makes familiar circumstances suddenly feel different, cannot easily be unseen once recognized, creates discomfort because of what the realization implies. So it changes the architecture of your understanding. What secretly affects us without being visible or perceivable, it acts silently, secretly affecting our field. It represents hidden things that affect us, the emotional, physical, and spiritual. As it's outside the visible spectrum, it is difficult to identify, but it's not impossible to prevent. I'm hearing just as quick as you were there, that's as quick as you left. That type of energy. Yeah, it's an energy center. And again, it says invisible problems can be solved with tools that are equally invisible. All right, I'm going to get some advice for you because I feel like you've also moved through it, to be honest, just from how luring this energy was. What's your advice? Ooh, this is interesting, right? So your advice is eclipse. Now, eclipse is saying, all right, just because this is the impact that you have, it shouldn't determine or obstruct or distort the way that you see yourself. This is belief systems that can sometimes, or the beliefs that others, have of us in regards to how we're perceived, right? How beings think about us, how they feel about us. Knowing that we don't see the world as it is, we see as we are. And so what someone does or doesn't do is a reflection of them, but how your response is also an awareness of you. And entropy is understanding that this entire universe is moving towards a state of entropy. So although we're in a high entropy environment, which is this one container that holds the multiple spectrum of frequencies that are able to interact and overlay and communicate with each other, this matrix is a psychological operation. And so some things will, that everything is competing for our attention, but some things will draw us into conflict, disarray, while others will actually put us into deeper states of coherence and alignment. And so it's understanding that not everything that calls for your attention is an invitation for you to accept. Entropy is understanding that although you're in a high entropy environment and you're experiencing a level of disorder, even in your external reality, to be seated within the stillness of your heart and observe the complexities and intricacies that happen in the recalibration of your external field, but then also what's happening in the emotional landscape of those around you in the lives that you touch, in their inner realms, in their internal recalibration, is something that should help you remain locally ordered and anchored into the roots of your being. It's the moment that you place yourself in the eye of the storm. And so this is where we see the disorder through the lens of the cosmos, which helps us view it from the perspective of the soul and acknowledge the secret order. For the soul is always experiencing what's in benefit for them at that stage of their evolution. We can feel and tune in to the full range of human emotion within the system, and also what's happening within the inner realms of those around us with our fellow humans, and also simultaneously dwell within the void. And so with entropy, it talks about loss of order in a system and sometimes feeling a level of confusion. It talks about molecular confusion, but we can clear our hesitation by understanding. I'm hearing the co-creation, right? The co-creative force that you are. And so there could be something coming up with the eclipse that you're actually remembering with DNA. It talks about demonstrable gifts as well that have been passed down through the ancestral lineage. And so there's something around remembering the role that we are all here to play, because each child has a part to play in the cosmos. Each child has a part to play in this cycles. We are all children of light, returning to that wisdom once again. Thank you, Spirit, for bringing that back around. I actually wanted to share that in this message, and so I'm so glad that thoth energy came through. And one of you said in the community, I actually screenshot it this morning because I wanted to integrate it into this message and I would have completely forgot otherwise, was you were talking about Thoth, and you said it in the starseed reading that I did around your glitching the simulation. And OG said it's like the Emerald Tablets. It is written on several levels of consciousness. So you can read it over and over, and you shall never read the same book twice, because you've integrated it essentially. And so that's exactly what this is. The Emerald Tablets is like reading light codes. And so as we ascend into higher levels of consciousness by meeting ourselves deeper and deeper, because the branches of the tree extend higher and higher only as far as it's met its roots. And there's an energy of understanding your roots and being so rooted and grounded in your essence that nobody's presence or absence disrupts the way that you feel about yourself, and you understand and understand innately the true nature of this construct. And that is that we all originate from the same root. All of our roots are bound as one, and they branch and extend through our hearts as one being. So that's the energy. I'm going to go ahead and read some of the advice from Entropy, if there is any. And then I'm going to love an Evie right there. I just wanted to get this message out here because I feel like it's more about you. It's not even about an ego, if I do ta-da-da-da-da. It's more about just what streamlines through you as far as like a field. It feels like you're an anti-gatekeeper type of energy, right? Shadow to light, that's the eclipse. So the light from one celestial body is blocked and it temporarily obstructs the other. The Greek word for eclipse is the disappearance and or the decrease. The Mayans describe this as a conflict between the moon and the sun. And the fact that you've got synchronous rotation, you illuminate something within the subconscious. And the subconscious remembers, right? The subconscious is linked to the field of where everything exists. And let's check who or what is blocking our light to be able to return to a place where we can be totally visible and shine bright like a diamond again. So this is not concealing yourself due to the interposition of how another being may see that themselves. And what's super interesting is that entropy is the next card over. And it says entropy indicates a level of molecular uncertainty of a system. It is the measure of the amount of energy which is lost due to being unavailable to work. It's the Greek word of the confusion deriving from a twisting motion. Your advice is to turn around, return, or change the layout. I spoke about entropy in the Osirian, and the Osirian has a very mysterious story to it, because its waters are healing in nature and is linked to Osiris, the god of the underworld, of transformation. The transformation that occurs as the soul navigates the physical realm. And its waters doesn't stagnate because it's connected to this infinite hidden wellspring of knowledge, where it can streamline higher levels of celestial information as it navigates this terrestrial plane. And so you're able to zoom out and gain a greater vantage point and a greater level of awareness while seated inside of an experience. And that provides you with greater levels of freedom that you can exercise moving through the storm, becoming one with the chaos by embracing the cosmos intertwined within every disorderly experience by viewing it from the perspective of a hidden secret order that will be slowly unveiled to the linear mind with what was always enveloped as universal cyclical cycles.